Hello and welcome. This is Arirang News with Daniel Chen. Let's take a look at the headlines first. Nepal continues to struggle to recover from its worst earthquake in decades. Thousands of lives have been lost and the death toll is expected to rise as heavy rain and aftershocks hamper search and rescue efforts there. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has begun his week-long U.S. tour. All eyes are on whether he will issue a long-overdue apology for Japan's wartime atrocities during his historic speech to U.S. Congress. And the results of an upcoming by-election on Wednesday will be indicative of things to come for the ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy. We turn to an expert for his insights. We start here in Korea. President Park Geun-hye, back in Korea following her South American tour, has accepted the resignation of embattled Prime Minister Lee Wan-koo. The Prime Minister is expected to officially step down from his post in a few minutes. He tendered his resignation last week due to mounting pressure from both political camps to resign amid a high-profile bribery scandal. Lee is one of the 8 ruling Saenuri Party politicians listed on a suicide note left behind by late businessman Sung Woan-jong, who allegedly gave kickbacks to those on that list. Deputy Prime Minister Choi Kyung-hwan will serve as acting Prime Minister until that position is filled. And turning now to the latest in the high-profile bribery scandal, prosecutors are questioning another aide to the late businessman at the center of it all, Sung Woan-jong, this Monday. The aide, identified only by his surname Chung, is being grilled on his knowledge of the bribery allegations and whether he hid or destroyed evidence. Chung worked for the late businessman from 2012 to 2014 when Sung was a Saenuri Party lawmaker. Chung served alongside Lee Yong-gi, another aide who was arrested last week on destruction of evidence charges. Going forward, prosecutors also plan to summon the aides of 8 high-profile Conservative Party politicians accused of taking kickbacks from Sung. The names of the 8 politicians, including Prime Minister Lee Wan-koo, were found on a list left behind by Sung, who committed suicide earlier this month. Moving on to a nation in crisis that's trying to recover from one of its strongest earthquakes in 81 years in Nepal. At least 3,300 people are confirmed dead in Nepal and more than 6,500 are injured. And that number is sure to rise as the search for bodies continues. Thousands of survivors are camping outside on the streets of Kathmandu after countless buildings and historical sites were leveled. Outside the capital, rescue workers are struggling to reach remote regions of the country. The 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck just before noon on Saturday and was followed by numerous aftershocks, including a powerful one that hit Sunday. The underground plate that shook Nepal also sent tremors through neighboring countries like India, China, Tibet, and Bangladesh, and reports of those affected are still coming in. Staying with the crisis, the Korean government is dispatching a search and rescue team to Nepal today and plans to send another at the end of the week. It joins a growing number of countries and aid agencies pledging to provide relief. Our Shinzo has more.
The survivors are exhausted after sleeping outdoors in the tent cities that have sprung up around the capital of Kathmandu. Most of them have either been displaced or are afraid their homes will be destroyed as the strong aftershocks from the quake that struck Saturday continue to hit the quake-shattered nation of nearly 28 million. The people are in desperate need of shelter, food, clean drinking water, and electricity as medical supplies are running low. The Korean government stepped up its response to the crisis on Monday by dispatching a team of rescue workers. 15 of the 45-member team are leaving Monday, while the remaining 30 are set to leave Friday. That's in addition to the $1 million in aid Korea has already pledged. On a global scale, aid agencies are also stepping in to lend their support. UN spokeswoman Orla Fagan left for Nepal Sunday fearing an outbreak of measles and diarrhea. Countries like Canada, France, Britain, and the United Arab Emirates have also pledged aid. The Pentagon said a disaster assistance response team, a search and rescue team, and cargo left for the quake-struck nation on Sunday morning. Britain is delivering supplies and a rescue team, while Pakistan is sending military aircraft loaded with medical supplies, a necessity for a country where supplies are low and hospitals are being overwhelmed. Despite the aid commitments, the situation is grim. Getting to Nepal at this point is challenging at best. There's just one international airport, and it's being shut down frequently due to aftershocks from the quake. And many remote regions, most of them impoverished, will be left to fend for themselves as landslides and aftershocks hamper rescue efforts. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, President Park Geun-hye has returned during her visits to Colombia, Peru, Chile, and Brazil. She sealed dozens of deals that are expected to pave the way for Korea to diversify economic cooperation with the region. Our Choi Yoo-sun reports.
Korea's presidential office says President Park's South America tour has helped Korea diversify its cooperative partnerships with the region beyond trade. It also found ways to join the two sides' innovation-led growth initiatives for future co-prosperity. Marking the first joint local production of Korea's trainer jet, the KT-1P with Peru, President Park said the two sides should focus more on win-win partnerships.
페루가 추진 중인 다목적 고등훈련기 사업 등 다양한 분야에서 필요한 협력을 지속해 나가기로 하였습니다.
With South America severely lacking medical personnel and services, Korea signed deals with Peru, Chile, and Brazil to help them develop their telemedicine services, including a smart hospital vessel. This in turn is expected to offer Korean medical equipment manufacturers a better chance to launch their business in the region's $11 billion telemedicine market. Securing deals with all four countries' e-commerce associations and major distribution companies, Korea expects to better benefit from its FTAs and increase related exports to $3 billion in 5 years.
지구 반대편이라는 물리적 거리를 해소하기 위해서는 온라인 기반의 교육 시스템 활성화가 필요합니다.
Korea will also work with Chile and Brazil to support their startups and assist job seekers, as well as increase exchanges between their young people. President Park's trip has taken Korea a step closer to winning various infrastructure projects in the region, each worth billions of dollars, such as Colombia's subway construction and Peru's river restoration. Choi Yoo-sun, Arirang News.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is in Boston for the start of his week-long U.S. tour, the highlight of which will be his landmark address to a joint session of Congress on Wednesday. One of the big questions for many watching in this region is whether his remarks include an apology for Japan's wartime atrocity, though what he doesn't say may be just as important as what he does. Our Kim Yeon-bin has more.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has kickstarted his week-long U.S. tour in Boston as he looks to strengthen Tokyo-Washington ties. Upon his arrival Sunday, Abe had dinner with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. The Japanese leader is scheduled to visit the site of the Boston Marathon bombing and give lectures at Harvard University and MIT on Monday. After that, he sets off to Washington for summit talks with U.S. President Barack Obama on Tuesday and a highly anticipated speech to U.S. Congress the following day. All eyes are on whether Abe will use a historic occasion to issue a long overdue apology for Japan's atrocities during World War II. Abe's lack of genuine remorse for his country's actions has caused Tokyo's relations with Seoul and Beijing to dip to new lows in recent years. Prior to Abe's visit, 25 U.S. congressmen sent a joint letter urging him to address history issues. Mainstream U.S. media like the New York Times have also said Abe's success in the U.S. will depend on how he confronts Japan's past wrongdoings. Relations between Korea and Japan have been strained for years, as Tokyo refuses to accept Korea's demand that it formally apologize and compensate the Korean victims of Japan's wartime system of sexual slavery. Despite intense pressure, there are indications Abe is unlikely to issue an apology during his time in the U.S., meaning Seoul-Tokyo ties will continue to remain frosty. Kim Yeon-bin, Arirang News.
The ruling Saenuri Party and the government agreed Monday to fast-track a series of long-stalled bills on human rights in North Korea in June if they fail to reach a compromise next month. The bills have been stalled in the Parliamentary Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee since 2005 due to bipartisan differences over their content. One of the most contentious bills includes a proposal to fund South Korean civic groups that fly anti-North Korea leaflets across the border. The ruling party supports the bill, but the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy is against it. Some lawmakers have argued that the passage of the bill would unnecessarily stir up inter-Korean tensions. South Korea has lifted a ban on aid to North Korea for the first time in 5 years, raising the hope that inter-Korean relations may be turning a corner. The move comes just after Seoul and Washington wrapped up their annual round of joint military exercises last week, something Pyongyang regards as threatening. With the details, we have our Kim Ji-yeon.
South Korea has lifted its 5-year ban on providing fertilizer to North Korea. Seoul's Unification Ministry gave the green light for Ace Kyung-hwan, the foundation run by South Korean bed maker Ace, to visit North Korea to set up greenhouses there. The group will cross the border by car on Tuesday and return on Saturday. The plan includes a provision of 15 tons of fertilizer to the north, along with materials needed to build greenhouses, like vinyl and pipes, for a total value of roughly $186,000. The ministry says it may also consider allowing other private aid groups to provide fertilizer to the north, but says inter-Korean relations could be a factor in the decision. The delivery of aid related to the agriculture and forestry sectors comes after a speech made by President Park Geun-hye in Dresden last year, where she outlined a plan for achieving a breakthrough in frosty inter-Korean relations. Seoul has banned fertilizer aid to North Korea since it imposed heavy economic sanctions on the regime following Pyongyang's torpedo attack on a South Korean warship in 2010. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
And North Korea has opened up about the ongoing wage tussle at the inter-Korean Kaesong Industrial Complex. It says the economic relationship between the two Koreas won't last long if only one side is making a profit. Pyongyang made the claims on Monday, citing an academic journal article it published in February before unilaterally raising the minimum wage for North Korean workers at Kaesong by 5% to $74 a month. The article said the two Koreas must come up with a fair principle and a common purpose for a balanced development of the complex. North Korea also took credit for allowing South Korean companies to use part of its land almost free of charge. Experts in Seoul say North Korea appears to be dissatisfied with its current profit earnings from that complex. The last Wednesday of the month here in Korea is a special occasion known as Culture Day. It's a day when cultural facilities throughout the country, including museums, galleries, and movie theaters, offer special discounts or free admissions to promote culture and the arts. With another Culture Day coming up on Wednesday, Korea's Culture Ministry has announced that this month's event will feature nearly 1,800 cultural programs nationwide. That's the highest number yet, and more than twice the number of events in January of last year, the program's first month. The ministry says this month's Culture Day will be packed with activities for people of all ages, including special interviews with book authors and street concerts featuring renovated pianos. The April 29th by-elections are right around the corner and 4 seats are up for grabs. The event is largely being seen as a showdown between the ruling Saenuri Party and the New Politics Alliance for Democracy, or NPAD. For a closer look at the significance of this race and more, we have Professor Han Kyu-sup from Seoul National University joining us in the studio. Professor, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start with the first question. The result of this by-elections, it's expected to have some long-lasting implications for both sides. Could you perhaps tell us how this contest would affect local politics in the near future?
Okay, I think there are two possible scenarios. If the opposition party loses all 4 races, I think that will be a significant blow to the leadership of Moon, and it will probably there will be some talks about the possibility of forming a new opposition party even. The other possibility is that if the Saenuri Party actually loses all 3 remaining races, the one aside from the one in Gwangju, I think that will be a huge problem for the Park Geun-hye administration, and probably it will signal the beginning of the lame duck period for President Park.
The Sung Woan-jong bribery scandal, how is it affecting the public support for either parties?
Well, I think that's a difficult question to answer at this point, because right now, I think in the short run, obviously, it will have a more negative impact for the Saenuri Party. But in the long run, I think both parties will be affected equally negatively. from this scandal, because I think a lot of people understand that this is not a problem that's peculiar to any one party or any one administration. And everyone is sort of waiting to see whose name will actually come up on the list and so on and so forth. So in the long run, I think this will work in the direction of sort of further lowering the political trust and increasing the political cynicism among the public.
Well, let's focus on the main opposition party. It seems like they have been losing some support, and even some of their own have turned their back on them in recent years.
Yes.
And it seems to happen again as of late. Is there a reason for this, and is there any way they can prevent it from happening?
Well, I think the fundamental reason is that if you look at the composition of the main opposition party, obviously there are two major factions here. So the main thing here is that whether or not the people, voters, actually perceive the opposition party as a viable alternative to the ruling party, the Saenuri Party. And once that's no longer the case, there's obviously going to be people who are going to be leaving the party and trying to maybe form an alternative opposition party and so on and so forth. And the problem with Chinno leadership right now is that there are two major problems. One is its ideological sort of extremism. A lot of people think of them as too extreme.
Well, Professor, thank you so much for your time, Professor Han Kyu-seok. We hope to have you back here sometime soon again.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all from us at this hour. More coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time. For now, thank you for watching.